Good afternoon, everybody, and happy to see smiling faces after lunch. The primary thing about any mobility are four words. You can call it ACEs. First is accessibility, second is connectivity, third is economy of scales, and finally it has to be sustainable. And while India is surging ahead by picking up new technologies here and there now and then, we still don't have a very well curated pathway that what should be our transition in the mobility sector leading towards net zero 2070. That's a statement I'm making. You can refer to any manual, right from a McKinsey report to Indian government. We have no clear pathway that how much of weight of which transportation is going to be, sort of palmed off or auctioned off to which particular fuel channel or pathway. Some pointers for your consideration first, so obviously I will narrate them to you. 1.3 billion vehicles worldwide, right? That's the current rate of vehicles in the industry. And Bharat accounts for about 4.4 million as of 2022 and likely to grow up in 2030 to nearly 6.1 million. And that is something about consisting of 50% share of SUVs. So rest everything is declining or marginalized, but SUVs is rapidly growing and challenging to become 50% of your passenger vehicles. Per capita in the US, 1,000 people basis is about 800 plus vehicles. In Bharat, we have 100 vehicles in every kilometer in a major city. So that's the comparison you can draw where we are. 120 hours are wasted in traffic annually in a planned city like Los Angeles. So you can imagine how much of time you're wasting on the streets as a driver in the city of Delhi, Bangalore, and other cities as well. Private cars are 45% of all trips worldwide. And in spite of wherever our aspirations are, the number of buses, whichever category it is 1.2 buses for 1,000 people on the planet from the Indian side. So we are very, very much less in the public transport sector in terms of our aspirations and needs both. Bharat contributes automotive industry contributes about 7% to the GDP today, with a plan to grow it to 12% by 2030. That's our aspiration as a country, that we should be able to contribute. So a lot of manufacturing is happening in our country, right from normal transportation to future fuels and EV and hydrogen, everything included. Automotive mission plan, which the country has made, is going to culminate in the next about a year and a half in 2026. It started in 2016, 10 years of bandwidth. Electric mobility was supposed to increase, and tripling of revenue in this industry from up to whatever it is to about 300 billion, and also exports growth to 80 billion, which is about 7x from what we started with. We can all define where we are, and we are generally about at the starting block itself. Corporate average fuel efficiency norms, which mandate the OEMs 10% reduction of all emission in terms of their manufacturing techniques by 2021, and about 30% 2022, and still that BS standards and end of life kind of concepts with scrapping. You must have heard the news yesterday and day before, the chaos in Delhi itself. And somebody posted a nice Rolls Royce this morning on Twitter and said, I bought this few years back. It's a diesel Rolls Royce. And in the next 1.5 years, it's going to be going into scrap. It's done hardly 28,000 kilometers. And Rolls Royce is something, the same engine which you use on the aircraft, it runs for years. So why is my vehicle going to be a scrap? But unfortunately, if that is the rule, and it is a scrap. And then we have heard about the FAME 1, FAME 2, and how to basically manage the adoption, faster adoption. And then, as India is concerned, because we are going into the manufacturing process with the industrial revolution today, we are off by maybe about 6 decades, because the first global revolution industrial happened after the world wars, and we were not there. But now we are there, and we are looking at continents of Latin America, Middle East, and also Southeast Asia and Africa, where we can sell our automotive products. So that's the 7x growth we are looking at. If you see that, then where are the trends leading to? The IC engine trend is very simple. The passenger vehicles increased 10 to 15% in the period leading to 2030, and the commercial vehicles lead to about 5 to 10% more. EV in Bharat has increased, so micro mobility is going to increase. We understand macro mobility, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and all category. And then there is mini mobility, which is the new generation when we have seen those nice coupes of two-wheelers and three-wheelers which are going on streets as concept cars and vehicles today in the world. That's mini mobility. And in that segment, the e-buses fraction is supposed to increase by 9% till 2026, 9%. And suddenly it has to surge to 30% by 2030. When I'm telling these numbers, only two things should click in your mind, or three things maybe. One is, what is the capex requirement? Where is the money? Where is the market? Who's going to pay that premium? And third is, who owns the technology? And that is the point coming to what the chair was talking about. What is our ownership in this entire process as technology providers for our own growth and our own pathways? So I'll flag it for now. I'll come to the part later. Then coming to air mobility. Now, pizza drops, whatever drops are being planned through drones and things like that, they'll come under eVTOL systems. So those are also going to increase, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry already in the market, looking at $1 trillion soon. Shared mobility, somebody mentioned about shared mobility, and it's not exactly only the Uber part, but beyond that is $1 trillion industry by 2030. Then we're looking at smart transportation, automated types, which are also good because we went through a phase of pandemic, and dare I say the US-China biological warfare is still not over. Don't get me wrong, because I'm also a geopolitician by nature, and I teach, and I say that it's going for too long. And if it strikes again, these are the pathways which the nation should develop, because you have to have these automated systems which can transport people. Inclusive mobility, one aspect of gender was presented by the chairperson. The other one is about the disability. So you're looking at in the market worldwide 1 billion people who need inclusive mobility, and India has got about 2.21% of people who need that kind of mobility as well. So where is the access, where is the sustainability, where is the economics, and where is the availability itself? Connectivity, last mile is fine, but a lot of functions are happening, and I'm glad that our country has taken a step forward to bridge the last mile connectivity with the intermodal system right from the coastline to the heartland of India and to the mountains, which is very good. And the other trend which is emerging is, like Rakesh was saying, the technology and innovation happening in a very rapid pace, and that is where also the ownership is required from us to come more, rather than buying those currently expensive, cheap-looking softwares and not developing your own. So you have to look at that direction also. And then there is a demand for zero emissions. It's a no-brainer. Whether the IC engine manufacturers are being told to reduce and have a quality which has lesser emission, or you're transitioning to biofuels, or you're going to CNG, EV, extended range EV, whatever the mobility concept is, or flex fuels, you have to look at that. Now I'll just narrate a few challenges, and these challenges actually are the opportunities in the mobility sector. The first challenge is the consumer's persona. Now, I'm not too sure if you heard that term before. It's us. So I live in a colony, and it had a lot of IS people. I was in the military, so I was not with the IS, but somehow my father-in-law had a house there. So one family had 7 cars when I first got married, right? Incidentally, I only married once, sorry, the wrong word to be used, right? And then 7 cars included 1 car for the dog as well, right? So dog had to be taken to a vet, a separate small car for the dog, and balance had a car each. Their entire family has migrated to US, leaving behind an old man. The lady also died, I think, last year. There's still 5 cars there, duly maintained. I don't know for what heritage value they are, but they are being maintained. How many of us are comfortable today traveling in public transport? The best metro is running in Delhi. Very occasionally we take it just to click some selfies, right? Most of us avoid it. Is the transportation safe enough for the ladies, the girl child, everybody else? So there are many things attached around a consumer's persona which says, why not have a car? And today, when the car becomes affordable, and I'll go back in time, when Maruti Suzuki came to our country, a great revolution in automotive industry, but dare I say, it was the worst mistake of our country, right? It was too early, too cheap on subsidized fuel, and coming at 40,000 rupees or something like that, and everybody started buying it. And today, even in the last decade, the cost of automobiles has nearly doubled in this country, but the aspiration is so high that you're buying it in millions every year. 4.4 million is not a small amount of cars coming to the street. So what the Maruti revolution actually did that time, and nothing against Maruti, if somebody sitting here, you're doing a great job, and you will make more cars. But then, I'm talking in past, you put the entire public transportation of this country to a halt, right? Because cars became cheaper, bikes came, scooties came, motorcycles came, everything came. the two-wheeler, three-wheeler factory also enlarged itself, and the aspirations went in a different direction. And now we are looking back to reinvent the wheel, similar to the transition of automotive industry, sir. When you said we were already electric and then we went to IC engines, now we're again looking back at, the electric part. Similar to us, in agricultural sector, we were the most organic country, one of the most organic countries. And then we had all kinds of fertilizers and crop infusion and GM crops. And now, Ramdev can sell a potato as organic and you will buy it for 400 rupees, right? So you've come back a full circle nothing against Ramdev, no, don't quote me, right? Okay. So I'm just telling about the concept part. And that is how we have to reinvent the wheel every time and pay a premium being a country. Why? Because as a country, we never did R&D. We never put money into innovation. We never gave the same pay package to our educators. We have such a population, so many teachers, but they are the worst paid in our country. We have so many technical background IT graduates, but they don't get jobs here, so they go to, the Silicon Valley and they make money. I mean, why should a Sabir Bhatia make a Microsoft, like I said yesterday, and sell it to Microsoft? Why couldn't it be here, right? So that's the problem. Second part is the infrastructure development, public transport, charging, multimodal, you name it. Infrastructure scope, biofuels, when they come, they have got a separate upstream, which can be created in warehousing, logistics, trucking, movement, and it's a $1 trillion industry by itself. But where is the focus? Focus is to just join technology, produce something to make it look nice, and then start ticking the boxes, and then nobody's bothered. Everybody's a shopkeeper trying to buy the upstream commodities to make the final product. That's not the way it's going to work in the future. Cost and affordability is again a challenge, and it's a challenge for the entire value chain, whether upstream or midstream. Then it's policy and regulatory framework. A lot of events happen, a lot of think tanks, come up. Some of us sitting here were in the 2020 McKinsey white paper writing, where a lot of people, including Boeings of the world and small fishes like us, were there in the same paper writing. And we wrote something about how SAF should come about. Where are we in the last 5 years? CORSIA norms, 1st January 2027 is a date line. It's going to start and kick off. And I'm not too sure where we are. So formulating a think tank, making papers, but the doing capability is something which needs to be pushed, and the entire doing needs willpower, it needs money. And I'll agree with the chair when she says that at times, don't look at 20% return. If it's making 2% return since today, do it. Because tomorrow that 2% itself will increase as per the economy of scales in this country, the consumption pattern, the market we have. So I think that's the way to look at this cost part as well. Innovation and technology, digitization, autonomy, AI, machine learning, we have heard all of this. But when we think of a value chain, do we actually sit right from the beginning of the upstream to the downstream and mark what can optimize and make it better? The answer is no. So we first make a process, and then a nice IT guy like me or unlike me will come and say, no, you can do this. Oh, good idea. How much? 1 million, right? Had you done it as your process, it would have been much more cheaper, not only money-wise, but also to adopt that technology in your process itself. Then is public acceptance. Very, very important for our thinking. Unless you make the public aware, like Rakesh said that people are willing to pay the premium. Great point in Europe and Scandinavian countries, or maybe even in US. You tell the Indian that the Indigo price or the Air India price has gone up by 50 rupees, and he'll ask why, right? So it's a cost economics which is public acceptance driven. So had you not given subsidy over the petrol, and when the petrol was supposed to cost maybe 30 years back 120 rupees as per the crude rate of the market, when the country made it 50 rupees, had you kept it 120 rupees, many of the things would have been aligned today, and you've been much more industrious as a country to make the right decisions. Next point is about the urbanization. It's going to happen. There's nothing stopping. The migration rate today is upwards of 4% from rural to urban, and so is the aspiration. Aspiration is actually 400% more, right? Because our common household still has to grow in terms of energy needs, and energy also means the communication means of transportation as well. And when you look at urbanization, entire requirement of intermodal connectivity, mobility is only going to enhance 400 times in the next 50 years, 20 years, if we are fast. So you will have to look at the pathways to make this happen. And last part is about the inadequate public transportation and traffic congestion which we have. No matter what we do, no matter what we do, we just can't get over the fact that, we can't reach a place on time if we plan it well. You take any city. I mean, I heard Gadkariji was very happy when he created an underpass under the military cantonment because all these politicians could reach the airport little, safely and better and faster. But you go a kilometer and a half more towards Gurgaon, and that petrol pump and that Dwarka, merger, and try coming back from, Gurgaon after 4:30 p.m. With every 10 minutes, you keep adding 10 minutes, right? That is our problem, because we never look for a long-term solution, and quick fixes will not work to decongest our entire transportation network. Two more pointers before I leave stage.
Colonel, just be cautious of little more
Right,
time.
so last pointer. No 2 points, only one. The one point is, and fine, I'm actually inspired by the younger generation here, not by the older people on this side of the stage and that side, is that whatever you create in your lifetime, try and keep the ownership as a citizen of this country in this country. I mean, this line you can extrapolate to anything else. If you can achieve this as your generation, because the entire 2070 net transition, people like me will come and talk. We won't be there at 2070 to see what we spoke and what we did. But you're going to probably implement it halfway, and the next generation is going to finally be standing there to see the past and the future again. So make sure whatever you create is Indian owned. Don't sell your IPRs and patents too early in life. Thank you.